Guyana, 1977. 30 years before Warren Jeff's capture, another cult leader found himself the object of investigation. Rather than be caught and punished for his crimes, Jim Jones led his followers on a journey of paranoia and madness. Authorities didn't foresee that it would end in a massacre. Hundreds of corpses heaped upon one another, in testament to the terrifying power of a cult. Lynn, Indiana, 1941. 10-year-old pastor Jim Jones is preparing for one of his first church services. Neglected by his parents and often alone, Jim seeks comfort in the stories of the Bible.
The cult leaders have early experiences of neglect, of abandonment, of disappointment in parental figures and authorities.
A poor and lonely child, Jim's interest in the Bible leads him to a Pentecostal church on the outskirts of town. Believing in salvation through the Holy Spirit, Pentecostalists demonstrate their faith by speaking in tongues and witnessing faith healings, often ostracized for their own extreme behavior. The Pentecostalists offered Jim acceptance.
I joined a Pentecostal church because they were the most despised. They were the rejects of the community. I found immediate acceptance, and I must say, in all honesty, as much love as I could interpret love.
Religion offered Jim Jones the hope and acceptance he needed, but it was power that he craved. He quickly learned to twist religion for his own selfish needs, luring children to his house for Bible study and then locking them in. As a teenager, Jim was an exemplary student. Cultivating his own speaking talent, he pored over the speeches of progressive socialist leaders, Marx, Lenin, Mao. Raised in poverty, Jones was convinced that a church should provide for its congregants. By the time he started his own church, the young preacher had formed a vision of socially minded ministry that he termed apostolic socialism.
Jim Jones's cult early on in Indiana was very helpful to the local community. They provided soup kitchens for the elderly and for poverty-stricken people.
Feed the hungry, clothe the naked, minister the sick and the needy. I mean, that was the core of what the temple was about. Ostensibly, that's what the core of what the temple was about. That's what I believe the temple was about.
By the age of 35, Jim Jones is a success. The church he started as a young preacher, newly named People's Temple, is attracting scores of new members. He's found a wife who shares his commitment to racial equality, and together they have adopted a veritable rainbow family. But Jim's radical politics and liberal attitude are too much for conservative Indiana.
Early on, he was a guy with some very strong ideals in an unaccepting culture. He had the notion of racial immigration in a tough town like Indianapolis that didn't support that idea.
Despite the growth of his congregation, Jones feels persecuted and misunderstood. His childish need for attention has matured into a full-blown hunger for power, and he must move his church to a place where it can mature. A place that welcomes progressive ideas, social activism, and radical politics. He moves the People's Temple to Northern California.
It's no secret San Francisco has been kind of a mix, a place where lots of ideas came together. Anti-war days, Haight-Ashbury. The town was very open and tolerant to a lot of groups, a lot of ideas.
The Bay Area would provide the perfect social climate for the People's Temple. From progressive communities in and around San Francisco, Jim Jones would recruit a small army of hard-working people devoted to social action.
The progressive community in San Francisco and the liberal community loved us because we were clean-cut and responsible, and we had money, and we helped people.
Rest homes for the elderly, tutoring classes for students, free legal advice. People's Temple provided a variety of social services. But for Jim, the social programs served a more selfish need.
Most of these destructive cult leaders fit at least 8 of the 9 criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. Jim Jones, in all of his social programs and his congregation's involvement in the community, increasingly built his own sense of power and significance and glory in these projects.
The progressive atmosphere of San Francisco afforded a lot of opportunity for an activist church like Jones's. But the quest for power and glory was only part of his motivation. The driving force in the move to California was his exceedingly strong paranoia. In 1962, Esquire magazine published an article on the 9 safest places to hide in the event of a nuclear attack. Redwood Valley, just outside San Francisco, was one of them.
They thought it would be safe from a lot of perils. They even thought a nuclear war might break out, and Redwood Valley, for some reason, was thought to be safer than any other place.
Jones had had a vision that the Midwest was to be destroyed in a nuclear attack, and it was therefore essential to move quickly. He even set specific dates for this nuclear explosion that would begin the end of the world.
I have given the date, the month, and the year where a nuclear war will take place. I want to be like Jonah of old. I want to be proven wrong. I'll be happy if one of my prophecies fail. They haven't yet, but I'll be glad when one of them does.
The move from Indiana was only Jones's first step in a dark descent, one that would drive his doomed temple much further than San Francisco. San Francisco, 1969. The good deeds of the People's Temple masked the narcissism and paranoia of its leader, Jim Jones. But as the temple continues to build its reputation in San Francisco, cracks are starting to appear in Jones's smooth facade.
He wore country western outfits, bright suits, that sort of thing. Didn't fit into San Francisco. Always dark glasses, inside, outside, any time of day. Always surrounded by this coterie of protectors and kind of interpreters. Every big shot's got sidekicks, aides, that kind of thing. But Jones was by no means in the major leagues.
But despite these early warning signs, the temple was still attracting new members, especially young men and women looking to become politically active. In 1968, 20-year-old Tim Carter, a native of the Bay Area, was just returning from combat in Vietnam.
By the time that I got out of the bush, my politics had been rearranged completely, 180 degrees. I was very political. I was part of the counterculture. It was a movement. It's hard to describe it. It was either you were part of it or you weren't. And I was a part of it. And the Bay Area was probably the focal point for the counterculture.
Upon his return from Vietnam, Tim was quickly immersed in California's hippie culture, living on the streets, hitchhiking up and down the coast, and experimenting with alternative spiritual movements. But he would soon find a new direction, a cause to devote his life to.
We were doing a meditation, myself and 5 other friends, and all of a sudden I felt this explosion of energy go up my spine from behind. It was just like, bang. And I turned around and I saw this picture. And I said, "Who is that?" She goes, "Oh, that's Papa Jim. He's the most loving man I've ever met in my life." And so I knew that I had to find Jim Jones and People's Temple.
Tim attended his first meeting of the People's Temple in San Francisco.
I walked into the temple, and it was the most alive place that I'd been in. I mean, I saw black folks and white folks, and teenagers flirting with each other and little kids running around, and I saw white people helping old black seniors, and there was nothing pretentious about it or phony. It was just a place that was filled with life. But I hadn't even met Jim Jones, and I knew that I'd known those people forever. I was home.
As a member of the counterculture, Carter was already attracted to social activism. Like other cults, the temple used good intentions to draw people in.
At their sort of full crest, the temple was probably 2,000 or 3,000 people. It definitely grew in size when it was located in San Francisco, and they were very active in recruiting.
To a potential recruit, People's Temple was a model organization, and Jim Jones, its loving and spiritual father. But success and power bring scrutiny.